इति गोविन्दम् उक्त्वा तूष्णीं बभूवः तमुवाच ऋषिकेशः प्रहसन्निव भारत सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये विषीदन्तमिदं वचः श्रीभगवानुवाच अशोच्यानन्वशोचस्वं प्रज्ञावादांश्च भाषसे गतासु न गतासूंश्च नानुशोचन्ति पण्डिताः न त्वेवाहं जातुनासं न त्वं नेमे जनाधिपाः न चैव न भविष्यामः सर्वे वयमतः परम् देहिनोऽस्मिन् यथा देहे कौमारं यौवनं जरा तथा देहान्तरप्राप्तिः धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यति मात्रा स्पर्शास्तु कौन्तेय शीतोष्णसुखदुःखदा
Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuram Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. In the 9th shloka of the 2nd chapter, it starts as Sanjaya Uvacha. That means Sanjay is telling Dhritarashtra, Gudakeshi, that is the one who has controlled or conquered his sleep, Arjuna, he has told Antaryami, Krishna, the one who knows the inner mind, that he is not going to fight the war. And with the great sorrow and depression, he is sitting in the middle of the chariot. Here, Eva Muktvaha Rushikesham Babhuvaha means at the end of the meaning, measuring his and the others, Bhagwan's arguments, also his own thinking, he decides at the end that at the most I might get the kingdom, I may win the war, and people may praise me as a great warrior, but my sorrow, depression, anxiety and worry in my heart will not disappear. Arjuna appreciates and respects what Sri Krishna says, but thinks, what Purushartha is he going to get by winning the war? In which, even if he loses his life, it's okay. Hence, dejected clearly says he will not wage war and sits with dead silence. Arjuna, who came with the great enthusiasm to assess the both sides, now he is sitting like a coward. Sri Krishna smiles at him gently and starts his Upadesha or preaching. Arjuna, who says he has surrendered, Sharanagata, and requests to accept him as a disciple, Shishya, and even without listening to the advice or preaching of Bhagwan, he, like a Pandita, he talks his mind and then sits like a coward. So Paramatma does not laugh at foolishness of Arjuna. Instead, he smiles gently because he has a great affection for Arjuna as he considers him as a good friend. Hence, Sri Krishna ignores the ignorance and the negativity of Arjuna and starts preaching in the 11th shloka as Bhagavana Uvacha. He, Arjuna, look, you are worrying and feeling sad for those who are not worth sorrowing for. Though you are speaking like a Pandita, you do not know the real jnana, the knowledge like a jnani. And a real jnani will never feel sad for those who are dead or who are going to die. At this stage, we must realize that there is a difference between the moha or the infatuation or crush of Dhritarashtra and Arjuna. Dhritarashtra is partisan, selfish, he is bothered only about his sons. Whereas Arjuna says, Swajanam hi katham hatva sukhinaha syama madhava, means he adores and has affection and attachment for each and everyone in the battlefield. Hence, with the very thought of killing them has caused deep depression. Sri Krishna is preaching towards to ward off his ignorance and the sorrow. In the 11th shloka, he starts as Ma Shuchaha, means you trust only me, have faith in me, and do not grieve. During Corona pandemic, lots of people were grieving because of the death of the kith and the kin without realizing the reality that Atma has got no death. And here, for such people who are depressed, Krishna's teaching of Upanishad is pertinent to each and every one of us. In this entire world, there are two things, Sat and Asat, Shariri and Sharira. In this, Shariri is Avinashi, not perishing, eternal, it's immortal. That is the Jivatma. But Sharira, on the other hand, is physical body. It is perishable, therefore one need not worry or sorrow for the Avinashi, which is truth, and at the same time one do not have to feel sad for the Nashvara Sharira, which is anyway is going to perish one day or the other. Whereas Avivekis or fools who do not know the truth, they weep and get depressed, says Bhagavad. According to Karma Siddhanta, birth and death, profit or loss, happiness or sorrow follow our prarabdha or the result of our karma or actions, good or the bad deeds. Therefore, being happy when it is suits you and unhappy when it is not convenient to you is not correct. We should be having samachitta or accepts both equally. Further, Sri Krishna Paramatma says, Prajnavadanscha bhapase. That means, on one hand, you speak like a pandita, on the other hand, with grief and deep depression, you get frustrated and say, you will not fight. This is a paradox. Even in our lives, so-called educated and learned become negative and they become defeatists during the distress. We fail to face the situation and wish to run away from the circumstances. So, Sri Krishna preachings are essential to each and everyone for our day-to-day life too. Further, in the 12th shloka, he says, once the Jivatma takes up a body and gets birth, it goes through the childhood, youth and the old age, and the body dies, but the Jivatma inside continues. Like how we change our old clothes and wear the new ones, it keeps changing the body with each life. Hence, the one who knows this truth does not weep for the Nashvara Sharira. So, should not have a crush or infatuation for this mortal body and sit without doing our daily duties or course. It is not correct to get depressed or dejected and sit without doing our bounden duties. There is no point in preaching any amount to the person who thinks himself as this perishable body. And I would like to tell a story of Sri Ramachandra at this point. When Sri Ramachandra goes to meet Vedavyasa, Vedavyasa asks, who are you? Sri Ramachandra answers, I am Sri Ramachandra, Prince of Ayodhya. Then Vedavyasa says, I didn't ask you what is your name, what you are. Then Sri Ramachandra says, I am the son of Maharaja of Ayodhya. Then he says, I did not ask you whose son you are. I'm asking you, who are you? Then Sri Ramachandra thinks that probably Vedavyasa doesn't know his father, so he tells, I'm the son-in-law of Janaka Maharaja, whose daughter is Janaki, Sita, and I am his son-in-law, Sitapati. Then Vedavyasa says, I didn't ask you whose son-in-law you are, whose husband you are. I am asking you, who are you? And that time Sri Ramachandra realizes that probably Vedavyasa knows who he is, and he asks, prostrates, does namaskara, pranama, and says, please tell me who I am. And that time Vedavyasa says, I know who you are, but it is you who has to realize who you are. And that is Atmajnana. So Paramatma's Amsha or a part is the Atma or Jivatma. And all of us, we have that Jivatma, and that is immortal. But foolish people forget the Jivatma and think this mortal perishable body as oneself and drown in sorrow, which is not correct. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan describes a subtle difference between Jivatma, that is Shariri, from the Sharira, that is the mortal body. The one which dies or perishes, that is the body, and you are not that. And he says, Nityaha Sarvagataha means Ena Sarvam Midam Tatam. You are Chinmaya, immortal, Avinashi, Jivatma or Shariri. You are not the body that you are residing in. The body is Nashvara, perishable in this mortal world. You are part of me, Paramatma, not the perishable part of nature or Prakriti. This is the ultimate truth. With destruction or the death of the body, Jivatma does not perish. And when you realize who you are, you will not weep or grieve for this Nashvara Sharira. For the question why it is not right to grieve for the death of the body, Sri Krishna Paramatma answers that question in the 12th and the 13th shloka. At any time there is nothing like I was not there. I was always there. I am Ananta, eternal, existing all the time in all the places all over the universe. You and I and all these kings also existed before as Jivatma, and then after death in this war, and this Jivatma will continue to exist, he says. Natvevaham jatu, till I appeared in front of people in the form of Krishna in this avatara, I was not evident. Similarly, till you and other kings were not born and they were not evident or they were not seen as kings or Arjuna, I or you or these kings did not exist till we were all born. That is not correct. The Nitya Tattva Atma is eternal. It is always there, and that is the truth. Paramatma says Jatu because Atma is present in the past, future and present. It does not change even a bit. Here Bhagavanta says Aham, which is very special and unique. He is explaining the importance of his existence as Ishvara Tattva. That means Paramatma's Amsha or part is there in all the living beings as the Jivatma or Shariri. But the mortal Nashvara Sharira was not there in the past. It will not be present after the death. It is there only now and will perish with the death. Even after many yuga, for thousands of years, Shariri or Jivatma does not change because it is part of me, Paramatma. In the 12th shloka, he explains, though Jivatma is eternal and not changing, the mortal body is ever changing. It is perishable. At birth, it is like a newborn baby, then grows into a child, then changes as a youth, and becomes old. Nobody feels bad about the changes that occur after the birth. At death, Jivatma leaves the body and enters another body. Hence, we should not cry thinking Jivatma is dead. It is only changing like how we change our clothes. It is eternal because subtle Sukshma Karana Shariri or Jivatma is eternal. The changes occurring in the mortal body is obvious, seen by everyone, but nobody can see the Sukshma Karana Shariri or the Jivatma. The humans who realize the truth about life does not grieve for the death of the perishable body. Like the way we change our clothes, remove the old ones and wear the new ones, in the same way, Jivatma leaves the old body and gets the new body. Jivatma, to experience the karma phala of its deeds, keeps on getting new birth after death. Thus, passes through 8.84 lakhs births till it gets the human body. So, human body is a precious one where you can do the sadhana and reach the Paramatma. So, birth and death is only for the mortal body and not for the eternal Jivatma, which is a part of the Paramatma, says Krishna Paramatma. Hence, we have to realize this eternal truth. Sri Krishnarpanamastu Pranama.